Those of you that have been following my whole little thing with the Lifetime stand-up paddle boards, which are a good water toy. They're not fast, they're not the greatest, but they're very stable and they're very good to learn on. But one of the things, the earlier design, you had this issue with fins that had a screw-on collar on the top and were removable, and everybody loses them. It's very rare to find somebody who has the paddleboard and has the fins. And you can find them cheap usually without the fins. So this whole project has been all about coming up with a replacement, which actually these have worked well. And believe it or not, with just one fin of this design, they work great. And literally I copied, this is like a real stand-up paddleboard fin that's being used. It actually has a normal style fin box, which really is what Lifetime should have done. It's the US type with a standard fin that screws into the box. But in reading, I've discovered a few things about these, and also we've bought other boards. We actually have some real nice boards now that are much faster and lighter and easy. The girls can carry themselves and stuff like that. But the design of the fin, there's actually differences to it. And the reason these very tall fins, which I copied on these two boards, were designed, you know, they look like a dolphin fin or a shark fin or something like that. The reason they were designed is actually for maneuverability, which means they don't give you as much directional stability, because the thing that resists the board twisting on you as it goes forward, because the whole reason the fin is in the very back of the board is so that as you paddle on the side of the board, it keeps the back end from just spinning the other way. If you ever taken a board out without a fin on it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It'll go around in circles just about as fast as it'll go forward. But a tall, skinny fin is very maneuverable, gives you the right amount of surface area, which is what you're looking for, on the side to keep it from the board from spinning, but it doesn't do much to resist the board turning. If you want the board to go straight, you need what's called, well, there's different designs, but these right here are called keel fins. And you'll notice the big advantage of them, this part right here would actually be set into the bottom of the board. So this would be even an inch shorter. Look at the difference in depth right there. And also the sweep of that leading edge as it comes down. This right here is a fin, because of its depth of the water this way, actually keeps you going straight. Much easier. We have on these new paddle boards, one came with a broken fin. So I bought one of these because I wanted to try the difference. And it's amazing. This tracks so much straighter. And the other thing is, these very vertical fins, if you go through where there's floating weeds, like if you go through the lily pads, these will catch weeds. They'll wrap around them, and then you'll feel the drag on any board that's got any decent slipperiness to it. Whereas on these, nothing collects, because the water flows so easily past here, and the angle, see how the difference in the angle between these two, looking down on them, the weeds will just flow right off and they won't wrap and you won't get caught. Plus the shallower depth. Remember, this will be even an inch shallower than that because of the box that it sets into in the bottom of the board. You're not going to get caught on rocks. If you go over logs, you're less likely to have that thunk that throws you forward. Putting it in shallow beaches or whatever, you won't have as much trouble with it digging in. And you won't have to worry about flexing or even snapping it off, which, like I said, I got a board with a broken fin. Somebody did that and snapped it right off. And instead of replacing it, they sold the board for cheap, but hey, my gain. So I am going, I guess we'll call this Design 3.0. Those of you that are looking for one of these paddleboard fin plans, and I know there's a few of you that have asked me on my Gmail account, and I will get the pattern out, but I am going to give you this keel fin as a pattern, not these deeper fins, because these boards need something to help them go straight. Being shorter and wider, they don't track as well. They work, but you got to really work at making them go straight, whereas not only with shallower fins, there's less likelihood of you snapping off this material, which is not fiber reinforced the way these type of blades are, with glass fibers to give them more strength. So you're less likely to snap it, it'll be thicker, and also you can make more of them out of one cutting board with this shape versus that shape. It's another defect that's come up with this. In the time that I've told you that I use Harbor Freight cutting boards, Harbor Freight no longer sells cutting boards. So you're gonna have to go to, I don't know, Walmart, the dollar store. Well, dollar store usually doesn't have good thickness ones like that, but they, who knows, the dollar store near you might be different. Discount stores of any type, go into the, look in the kitchen department of any store you go to, you may find good, I don't know, it's like 1/4 inch thick plastic cutting board that you'll need to make, especially your stack up right there that fills the rest of the slot. But I'll get those out to you guys, just showing you what I'm finally going to send you. So you see the surface area, it works out to basically the same, but it's this length that makes it track so much straighter, and really that's what you want fins for. And they'll be more streamlined, because believe it or not, this shape, one of the things it does, all that frontal area, it causes more turbulence in the water. Turbulence is drag. These, because they're shallower but longer, the frontal edge is what really makes the turbulence, so you actually get less turbulence. These are slightly more effective. It's just people who race paddle boards or whatever, they want that style because it turns faster. Most of us aren't worried about how fast our board turns. We're more worried about how straight we can make the thing go and how fast we can get it to go. So that's what's coming. I'll get them out to you. I'm going to make a copy of this today, and we'll get to work on it. One of the other issues also with copying, this is actually a racing fin. It's even slightly bigger than the one I copied. I have it off another paddleboard that I have to do a lot of work on. Is you also have to have the stem part that goes through the board, and that makes for an incredible amount of area that you have that you can cut out of. Whereas going to the keel fin, you can see that we'll have a much smaller board. So literally with a little bit of fooling around and angling and whatever, I can make what I need with a smaller cutting board. Line all this up, it's fun to do one-handed, and still have enough for the stem like that. And we haven't run out of usable area. We haven't gone into the handle. This might be better to set over here on this edge so that more of it's behind and less of it is ahead, just so you don't get a little notch. If you don't make this perfectly flush with the board, that weeds will get in and build up. That is something I had with this angle right here on one of the boards, because it didn't line up perfectly. So if you literally have your fin start right there like that, there won't be anything. It'll just be a nice straight angle right here, and then round back into your fin. And the further back your fin is, the straighter your board will be. It's not really a problem. Alright, so it's not 100% copied, but it's as good as I want it to be. Let's see the comparison between how deep the old fin was versus the depth of the new fin. Should give you much better performance when you're going into shallower water, and the distance this way will give you much better tracking going forward with the paddleboard as well, versus this, which is really designed to be more like a racing fin. And just another advantage of making it this way versus that way is the way you get so much more of the cutting board that you can then use for your other pieces that fill that pocket or the hole in the bottom of the board to keep the fin going forward and backwards directly the way it's supposed to be, and also keeping it from tipping side to side. This right here will allow me to get a few more pieces of these shorter ones, and then of course we offcut some other boards. I can also make the rest of these that I need to. Showing you the difference in the height between the two of them, and also really probably how effective it's going to be for steering, because for this one the width from here to here is what it had to keep it from turning, whereas for this one that width is so much more. This should make these track so much better. Okay, so for anyone who contacts me and wants my pattern here, you'll get a piece of paper, basically, is how I figured I'm going to do this. And it's going to have the shape of this fin, as I have it now, traced onto it, just like I have it on this cutting board. And you're going to need to get your own cutting board and trace the fin onto it. You're also going to need to use more pieces of cutting board, because as you can see, you need to make layers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 layers here of cutting board, and as you can see from the sides, they're tapered. That's to match the hole and have a nice tight fit. And so basically for that, instead of drawing each and every one of these pieces, because I can't give it to you exactly because it's going to depend on the thickness of the cutting board you're working with, what you're going to do basically is you're going to draw a line right across here, straight line, pretty much kind of follows the straight line that's on the top of the fin, and you're going to match that piece. You're not going to cut it off, but you're going to, find another piece of cutting board and trace that shape onto it for multiple layers, and then you're going to have to keep sanding and filing, or however you're doing it, those layers, until all of them, basically you're taking and you're sticking the fin in, then you're sticking the next layer in, and you want to just keep filing that until, as this one does, it fits flush. It's slightly sticking out of the hull, I think, is better, but that's going to be part, maybe a little bit more protection, strength, or whatever here, but you need it to block in and fill in this hole so that this can't do that to you, and now your board's going around in a circle. And you're going to have to do that on both sides, so that's going to be, let's see, that was 4, so there's going to be 8 of those angles. And then this is why you don't cut it flush with the top of the board, because then on top you're also going to get, basically, I'll trace this, and you're going to get another, you're going to have to make another one of these circular pieces like that out of your cutting board as well. So you need a few cutting boards probably per fin, and that, as I've shown in the other videos, basically goes over the top like that, and it is what keeps this whole fin from not falling out of the board and getting lost and you losing all your work. So that's what you'll get, and obviously it's going to be up to you to cut it and fit it. I use this orbital palm sander. It's a Bauer from Harbor Freight. It works fine. You want to get the coarsest, great sanding discs you can, because this stuff, it's designed to take abuse. So when you're sanding it, it takes a while and you need something really coarse. I also use a jigsaw like this, or I don't know, a scroll saw, I guess. Yeah, I guess this is a scroll saw, actually. It goes up and down. You could use a jigsaw. You could file this by hand, but for the cutting, a bandsaw or a scroll saw is probably going to be your best for making the cuts. You could use a jigsaw. Just, you're going to have to work lots of little cuts in order to make everything follow the lines the way you want. And then of course the last thing you're going to want to do is you're actually going to want to smooth out the edge here and actually kind of make it rounded so that It'll create less drag in the water and be smoother. And I'm going to leave my trailing edge more squared off because that will actually help it, I think, with steering. But if you look at the fins you're going to buy for a board, they also taper the trailing edge, probably to get rid of a little bit of drag, but I'm not sure that's going to be such a huge problem. This corner right here, you probably want to radius just a little bit. You don't want to have a sharp nick or a sharp corner right there, only because that can be a place where stress can get in and this could actually crack right across.